Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's fine. So we watched Stolen Earth and Journey's End yesterday. And normally I do these videos straight away. They're enough. And I didn't. And the reason I didn't is I have no way of structuring anything to say about these two episodes. And even that sentence was a microcosm of what I'm talking about here. Because normally I sit down and I think, right, make sure you say this and this and then this and this, you know. And I don't write anything down and and whatever. You've seen, you know. But it's impossible with this. And I think part of in fact, I went so far as to think, should I just rewrite? This is how my mind's working at the moment. Should I just rewrite Bob Dylan's Subterranean Homesick Blues? And I'll change all the lyrics and then I can do that and that'll be it. And that'll be fine. But no, I know. I'm not really. Jack is in the spaceship. I don't know. Anyway, so part of the reason, I think, for my difficulty about talking about these two episodes is I'm not entirely sure this constitutes a story at all. This feels more like a very fine writer marshalling all the different aspects that need to be in this story in such a way to make it meaningful and make some sort of sense and to provide some emotional resolution. And that's okay, because that worked with the Five Doctors as well, and we all love the Five Doctors. So let me get this out of the way. I think this is a fantastic two-part Doctor Who thing. As a story, I think it makes little to no sense whatsoever. And I'm normally not bothered about that sort of thing. Normally that is the furthest thing from my mind. But I can't escape the fact there's a number of different aspects about that like the whole dragging the planets across space. Okay, that is really pushing at my incredulity, you know, dragging the Earth back and the atmosphere. And okay, I'm just going to have to accept all of that. Fine. What was the other thing that didn't make sense for me? Oh, there's another thing. I'll come back to it in a minute. Oh, why save the humans? Why not exterminate all the humans straight away? Why bother to keep them alive at all? Is it purely so, because this is the only explanation I can come up with, is it purely so you can marshal about 15 of them up into your spaceship to test whether your gun works? Because that's nonsense. Anyway, fine. Why does Jackie come? Why does Jackie come across? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm always pleased to see Jackie. It's always a delight. But why? Since when has Martha Jones been the ideal person to fire a weapon which will eradicate the entirety of the human race? I mean, that is pushing at Martha's motivations hard. And I mean, really hard, okay? And finally, the big thing that I'm really struggling with this episode is, do you really expect me to be content with the fact that Rose Tyler is now with the faux doctor, who shall now on be recalled as the Foctor? Do you really expect me to think that is an appropriate emotional resolution to the story of Rose Tyler? I mean, it feels a bit adulterous, quite frankly, at the end. It just feels a bit weird and wrong, quite honestly. And I can't get around it. And it's neat. And it's fine, because I'll take it, because it's worth seeing Rose again. It really is worth seeing Rose again, actually. That's one of the absolute joys of this. Billie Piper just comes in and just nails it off the bat. But I find that ending, it just is asking quite a lot of me, and I do struggle somewhat with that. Let's pass on that, though. This is just two absolutely sensational episodes of Doctor Who. Having the Doctor being kept far away from everybody for the start of the first episode is acceptable, and they do the best with that setup. So we can marshal the troops, quite literally in some cases. And we've not watched Torchwood as part of this, but Gwen, it is Gwen, isn't it?
Gwen, yes.
And Ianto live long in my memory. They are the two high points of Torchwood as far as I'm concerned. Love those characters. So that's fine. I'll take that. Sarah Jane Adventures, again, we've not looked at in this, and I would quite like to, actually. I think going back and doing the Sarah Jane Adventures would be quite good fun at some point. But, you know, having her and Luke and then K9 at the end. Oh, the pop in this house when K9 appeared at the end. What a legend. And I have to say, and this is a point that I feel so keenly that I could wrap up this whole video with what I'm about to say. If of all the performances in this story, trying to sell to us the idea, the trauma and the horror and the history and the everything of this momentous event, the two moments that shine through more than anything else is when Sarah Jane Smith hears the Dalek voice, and you don't need to know anything about Sarah's history with the Daleks to know, oh, this is a bit heavy then. It's Elizabeth Sladen. I mean, I still don't think there's an actress who does a companion better than Elizabeth Sladen. And that includes all of the ones we've seen in New Who. I mean, she's just unbelievable. So the bit when she hears the Dalek voice and you see her response and the way she holds on to Luke is just palpable. But then the other bit is when she recognises Davros and Davros recognises her. Doesn't that make Sarah Jane Smith one of the most significant characters in the whole of Doctor Who? She was, what does he say? You were there at my creation, or at the he says something that tells you that Sarah Jane is, oh, well, there we go. Sarah Jane is Sarah Jane, and she is utterly phenomenal. And of course, will we see her again? Briefly. We're going to briefly see Sarah Jane again, and it will be glorious and sad at the same time. But there we go, I think. Is that right? I think we do. Anyway, let's talk about the Dr. Donna, because I think Tennant does a marvellous job in this, because Tennant always does a marvellous job in everything that he's in. And his performance as the Doctor is brilliant. You know, the ups and downs, the emotional high points and low points, obviously all of that marvellous. I love his take on the Foctor. This is sound like a swear word. YouTube will flag me up if I'm not careful. But I love the fact that he mimics Donna so nicely, and you can just see that those are two actors very much enjoying that moment. And he does do a fine job of selling these two characters, different characters, too much of a fine job. I refer you to my previous answer, arguably. But the real standout here is not just Donna, but Donna's family as well. Because, oh my goodness, Bernard and Sylvia, I can never stick a name. I mean, they're just two people who've got no clue really what's going on, and they are just in the middle of all this, and that is just, oh my God, Bernard Cribbins is just class. But I think, you know, when the stories of Donna Nobles are written, you have to include her mom as being one of the things that really just, it adds some tension and some grit and some reality to the whole Donna Noble story. And I genuinely feel they got dead lucky when they cast her, because they never expected to come back, did they? But she came back, and they did a fantastic job in casting her. Jacqueline something. I want to say Jacqueline Pierce, but that's Servalan. And that's Blake Seven. And we're not doing Blake Seven, okay? Stop it now. Right. But we've got to talk about Catherine Tate, because to all intents and purposes, this is Donna's last story. It's not Donna's last story. She's going to come back.
Stop with the spoilers.
Catherine Tate in this, just, if there was any doubt at this point in her time in Who, just utterly cements what a class actress she is. Because sometimes, and you see it at the end of the story, she plays Donna very, very broad. And that's always a part of Donna Noble. No matter what iteration of Donna Noble you get, is that sort of the comedic take on the character, and it is always there. And I can fully appreciate, being somebody who felt like this times ago, that is, you could find that off-putting, and okay, that's fine. But if you don't recognise that she has got such a nuanced performance as Donna here, not just at the start when she thinks the Earth has gone, and then she thinks they can't find it, and that turmoil. The bit of the story is when she looks out just at the start and she can't see the Earth, And there's a couple of bits like that where she is just selling these moments so hard. But then when she's the Dr. Donna and she's mimicking Tennant, and when she's parading around the console at the end, doing the whole Tennant thing, let's go see Charlie Chaplin, this, that, the other, my goodness me. You know, there's not many companion actresses who would be able to pull that off. I'm not being disrespectful, there are a few actually. But in terms of just the journey that character goes on, and then goes straight back to point A again, and
it's so heartbreaking.
oh my God, it's so hard.
The idea, like, it's Bernard Cribbins' reaction.
She was better when she was with you.
Yeah, and I thought that she's just been having these amazing.
And grown and been a part of something bigger than herself, and had her eyes opened.
Away.
Yeah,
and he'll know about it forever.
But those moments as well, when Bernard says she's better with you, and Jacqueline and Sylvia says something like she's brilliant anyway, and the doctor says maybe you should tell her that, and then later on she says I think you should leave, and they're all right. It's so weird that they're all, you can't disagree with any moment of that. It's such a brilliant bit of television.
Excellent writing, well done.
Well, it is excellent writing. I'm going to go back to my original point, okay? You compare this to Midnight, and this is just like, right, let's throw everything at the wall, and thank God everything does stick. And it does stick, and it sticks hard, and it's such a rush, and it gets by purely on its chutzpah and the quality of the performance. I love that word. And the, and just, it's a chutzpah, isn't it? Oh, well, live and learn. Correct me, tell me if I'm wrong, comment, oh yeah. But is this a brilliant story? Well, does it have to be a brilliant story? Because ultimately, it's the feelings you have when you engage with something. Well, Doctor Who does come very well. But it's the emotions that it generates. And all the way through this, you're on your edge of your seat, your heart's in your mouth. It is just, you cannot take your eyes off the screen. And I'll say now, as I'm just going to wrap this up because I've talked for long enough. Still to this day, at the end of the first episode, when Tennant says, I'm regenerating, and he goes, and I still remember me and Lib sat, now what house would we be in? We'd been in our last house, looking at each other going, what? Because he just announced he was leaving. If you weren't around at the time, we knew he was leaving. It was all part and parcel. It was all nailed on. And just for a second you went, is this it? We're getting a new doctor. And you knew we couldn't be. You just knew we couldn't be getting a new doctor. It was just impossible. And yet, RTD is able to just string you along so hard. It's class. So irrespective of whether this doesn't make sense or that doesn't make sense or why did the Daleks keep him alive and suddenly how can Martha Jones become the person who's going to eradicate the entirety of the planet, it works and it's magnificent and it's just a fantastic and very fitting end to Donna Noble, who we will never, ever, ever see again. And that is terribly, terribly sad. I can't wait to watch the next story because I don't think I've watched it in 15 years. Woo!